Hey girlies, I'm Aubrey,
And I'm Peyton.
and today we are going to be talking about Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton.
Yes, so join us for a cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets.
All right.
Let's do this. All right, girlies, we are here with another book review, a different kind of book review. This
Yeah.
our January book club book was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This has been on my TBR for a very long time. I remember back to our Kindles, like stuff your Kindle episode
Oh,
on
yeah.
my TBR. So it's a full circle event that I read this book, and of course, it's for book club. So just a little overview of how we kind of run our episodes, this podcast. If you're not sure, we break it up into two sections. What you're in right now is our non-spoiler section. We do have a spoiler section, so we can really dive between these paper sheets and spill all the hot tea for everyone that has read the book. But if you just kind of like our general thoughts about what we thought about this book, it's a memoir, so it's not like we have this huge plot like
Yeah.
shift that is like mind blowing. It's just about her life. Anyways, so this is our NS non spoiler section. We will let you know when we enter the spoiler section. But Aubrey is going to give you a little lowdown, a little recap about what you're going to be walking into when you pick this book up.
Yes. So, everything I know about parties, dates, friends, jobs, life, crossed out, love,
So,
is, as it says, a memoir. I don't think we've done a nonfiction book before, which is kind of I
no.
don't know if that's
Girls,
exciting or
girls.
not.
Hashtag
Um, This book will take you through Dolly Alderton's like preteens to early 30s as she kind of just grows and changes as a person. It's centered around love and girlhood and dating, and is rich with messages about body image and friendship and what it means to be kind of like living life as is it's given to you. This
yeah.
book was about a girl fucking around and finding out. You probably have seen pictures of it on Instagram before. I know that like this is like kind of a book where the quotes, like there's quotes in here that you're like, that's everything.
Yeah.
But it's jam packed with just the life mistakes that she made and how she learned from it. And sometimes she had to take the lesson multiple times to do some learning. And it's just a memoir. But centered around these themes. Every so often, there's sections where it's like everything I know about love at, and then it's an age, and you can kind of watch her perspective on love and life change
Yeah.
as she goes through different stages of life.
Yes, yes. This book is super interesting. Um,
Yeah.
I really thought this book would like change my life. It didn't.
Yeah.
There are some
Mhm.
quotes that I think are really important, as Aubrey said. I think this is a very quotable book.
Yeah.
I think that there are some unnecessary things in here as well. So our book club, just because that's the environment in which we read, discussed all month this book,
Yes.
was very we all had kind of the same opinion, but some girls didn't. Some girls, really had strong,
Yeah.
and the best way to put this is most of us didn't love the book.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
like 3 stars and under for I feel like most of the book club was. But
Mhm.
then there were some girls who read this in a week and was like, y'all, this is about me, this is my life. And I think this is where memoirs are very like um personal and like
Personal.
subjective
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
like your experience.
Yeah. No, for real. I think that like memoirs, either you're reading it for two reasons. One, you're reading it because you know and love that person, or there's someone famous kind of thing, and you just want to learn about that person. But one of
Right.
the main topics that our first week of book club when we read this was I don't know why I should care about this bitch's life. I don't know
Mhm.
why I care about what dating as a teen was for her because I don't know her. So I think the other reason that you'd read a memoir is to get like the life lessons out of it. But I think if those lessons aren't for you, if they're not things you needed to learn or needed to hear, it means nothing to you. If I read a book that was like for guys, for men, and it was like, like, I don't know, like things that they struggle with, or anything that's not to me, like I would be like, okay, like sure, that's a great lesson, but like I don't need to learn about prioritizing sports over my family, or
Right. Yeah. Or yeah, it's like yeah.
that's
I'm
not
not gonna
for
read a
me.
memoir of like a professional football player because honestly, like while this may be interesting, I have no interest in the sports industry and I
Yeah.
don't work there and I don't need
Mhm.
that. I don't need that insight. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so this book, Dolly's life, especially her younger life and early 20s, is filled with parties and drinking and making bad choices with the men that she sleeps with and dates. And for a lot of us, I mean, we're at a book club, guys. We weren't those girls. We weren't the girls going to college parties, at least not to the extent that Dolly was. And you
yeah,
kind of just like see through that life. And so a lot of us, we were like, okay, well, that's not us. And now we're finding you like kind of whiny and annoying because we didn't make those mistakes.
right. Or like not even mistakes, but like lived that life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that this is why I think memoirs are like a tricky
Yeah.
slope
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's like if that was your life, if you were that typical like sorority had or even girl or had like a lot of roommates in college, like
Yeah.
this you've probably lived these experiences and for you
Mm-hmm.
and there were some girls at club that were like this is about me. Like this
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
is about me and I think that there holds some like real truth to that and like they connected with that and makes sense why maybe their rating in the book was a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, like Aubrey and I, and the majority of the girls in the book club, they just like we didn't have that experience, so it was hard
Yeah.
to be like, wow, these are crazy stories, but like, can you stop complaining about things that for us were just like such
Yeah.
quick fixes and we weren't even involved in? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should take this like review of the non-spoiler section, kind of like if you're this type of person, this book is perfect for you. If you're not this type of
Yeah.
person or you haven't had maybe shared experiences as such, you're it's very like tea gossip heavy, like oh my gosh, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be oh my god, I relate to this, I relate to her story, I
Yeah.
relate to yeah. So I don't know, it was hard. And it's
Dolly.
funny because I have some friends that really like this book, and when I think
Yeah.
about them in the college years, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, Dolly's a very strong character, in the book at least, and I feel like it's one of those moments where if you can't see yourself as the I I read it, and I think that there was great things that I took away from this book, and I think the back half of this book was super well done and super meaningful, even for someone who hasn't lived her type of life. But I felt like I was just stuck in like the college party life and not connecting to the material.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. And a lot of girls, we like it was pretty split. A lot of us listened to the audiobook. A lot of us read the
Yeah.
actual book. I kind of hopped in between both. And I will say, like, there was a certain part in the book where you're like, I get it. You're a party girl. I get it. Like, you have this toxic look on friendships and relationships, and like, you probably need a therapist. But like, after a while, I was like, I don't want to pick up the book anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it was just a repetition and like that's her life and that's her story and like that's fair.
Mhm.
Also why I think maybe this would I can see why this is going to convert into like on screen
Yes.
because this is definitely a story we've seen a lot and so coming
Mhm.
from like real life experiences we assume is very entertaining. It's entertaining.
Yeah. For y'all who don't know, they took this book and as inspiration for a TV show that came out. Where was it, on Amazon
I'm not sure.
or
I
what
didn't
was
even
it?
know this existed until Jillian said it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it on her Instagram because the best thing about memoirs is that you can look up the real people, and like that character is just like a real person. And she didn't change anyone's names that I could find in this. Like if you go to her Instagram, the book is like centered around girlhood, and you learn about especially her closest friends really well, and you can see like pictures of those friends and stuff like that. Like I don't know, which was interesting. I'm
Yeah.
trying to look to see her post.
Yeah. And going back to while you're looking that up, no one in our book club knew who Dolly Alderton was. And I think that that's also a huge disconnect. Like when Jeanette McCurdy's
Mm.
memoir came out, like we connected that and her experience to what we grew up and like saw on TV, and also
Yeah.
knowing a little bit of background about like the child entertainment and like
Yeah.
being a child actor. And then also like people reading Britney Spears memoir. Like this makes sense, or biography. Like this makes sense because we are so invested in the Britney plotline at this point
Yeah.
that like no matter how crazy the story is, we're like so invested. Dolly, I will say, she is a journalist at heart, so and her writing does convey that, um, which makes it feel like a gossip spilling session. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult, but Aubrey's right. At some points, you're just like, stop being so whiny. Like it is like at times you're like, get over yourself.
Yeah. The TV show's out on Peacock.
Oh, Peacock. Okay.
And I think it's called Everything I Know About Love, like the same as the
Oh,
book.
that's it.
The thing that excites me about the TV show, I'd like to check it out though. I don't know if I have a Peacock subscription. I have to check my siblings. But is that I am hoping that it makes a bunch of the girls main characters, and we're not just seeing everything through Dolly, because to the relatability point, like I liked seeing and hearing Dolly's stories, but I think that another one of the main characters, Farley, her best friend, had a life that looks more like mine,
Yeah.
and had treated, just was someone more that I think I would latch onto if I could like get stuff from their perspective as well.
Yeah, I definitely think one of and we can talk about this in the spoiler section, but one of the questions that was posed in book club that you could think about is, what would your friend write about you in their memoir?
Yeah.
Like how do your friends perceive you? Because so while we were reading this, we saw the way Dolly perceived everyone else in her life, but like it's like, well, during this X, Y, and Z situation, how did Farley perceive you? And like you as a friend. So it's really interesting and very much to think about. But I think maybe how we could maybe wrap up the non-spoiler section is my fiance's sister, Jillian, got me this. We have a lot of Jillians in our episode today. Jillian, our book leader, who we love, our book club we love so much, and Jillian, my future sister-in-law. She gave me this book club book. She knows I love my book club, and they asked some really great questions in here, and I thought this rating system could go really well with a memoir, since we're like on the edge on how to really feel about this. I mean, like I know my concrete like feelings, and I'm trying not to be afraid to share those now. Anyways, so rating system. Out of 5 stars, the writing style. This is hard because there's a lot of Brit humor in it. If you don't get Brit humor, you're like, what's going on?
I think the writing for me is like a 3.5. I think if this book wasn't British, it would be a solid 4. I was so tired of like the freaking British lingo, and like there's like they talk about a bachelorette at one point, and it's like what is it, a hen do, and I was like, I have no idea what we're talking about for half the chapter.
You need to get out dictionary and Urban Dictionary for some Brit terms, and just I don't know. I think if this was a British book club, this book may have been taken a little differently. Writing style, I put like 2.5, 3 stars. It stinks because some of those quotes, like I want to be like, but like the last chapter's 5 stars. Like there are some parts like I literally have underlined and like will keep with me for the rest of my life. So it sucks to do that, but overall,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd give it like a 3. A 3, we
Yeah.
can do one. All right, relatability. I mean, 1. Like, I don't really relate to this
Yeah.
book at all. It's not
No.
relatable. This is why we're recommending this book to people who fit that. Hey, I had a crazy college like experience,
Yeah.
parties, hooking up with guys, staying up super late, like maybe experimenting with some, mind altering
Mhm.
substances. That is for you. And like that's your story and like I respect that, but like we don't relate to that.
Yeah.
I
I
read books all throughout college. So, and now we have a book podcast. All right. Originality. Um Other than the fact that she fits the like sorority,
Yeah.
what do you think? And I also forgot to ask, you agree on the relatability one, right?
Yeah.
The one,
Yeah.
okay.
For sure.
Okay.
I
Originality.
think for a memoir, I think that the book was definitely original. I liked how it was structured with like bringing back those like at certain age this is what I know about love. There's recipes in this book
Yeah,
that
it's
just
so
like
fun.
the whole purpose of it is a recipe from that time in her life because like food is a big part of like her identity and
Mhm.
uh so I think it was original. I didn't love it, but
Yeah, I think it's original too. Like, how did you even get in that situation? Original. Like, how did you meet that guy? Like, she does have a crazy life.
mhm.
It's fair that she wrote the memoir. Readability.
I I would say like a 4, 3.5. It's not a
Yeah.
hard read. You're not reading it and
No, I
confused
think
about. I mean, besides British lingo, you're not confused about what's going on. I guess
I
I'm
think
putting boring in. It's
yeah.
a. I was trying to say boring because it's a slow read to put down the readability, but that's not what readability means.
No,
It's
I
a
I
5.
think she has a very compelling way of like telling a story, like
Mhm.
genuinely and staying true to like how she felt. And I
Yeah.
think like I'd be reading a chapter and I'd be like, oh, like I'd be turning the page. Like it was a page turner once you were in that chapter, like
Yeah.
and in that.
Mhm.
But I wasn't like confused at all. Like I got what she was saying.
No. The book felt
So
like a FaceTime call.
yeah, exactly. I'd give it like a 4. Personal impact up 2 for me. Like I took some quotes out of it and some like girlhood, like girl power kind of like messages. And I think at book
Yeah.
club it really brought us all closer. So I think that's the personal impact is like the conversations that were led because and also sometimes in spite of what she would say.
Yeah.
So but overall it's like a 2 for me. I'm not
Yeah,
really.
it's like a 1. I appreciated it and I think that it's got strong messages and is a good book. It just wasn't for me. And I'm not going to remember this book. I'm not picking it back up. Which is unfortunate. But cuz
Yeah.
I just feel like we thought everyone in the book club thought we were going into this book that was going to change our lives. And it didn't. And
Yeah.
every book doesn't have to change your life,
No.
but we just were hoping that this one would, and then
It didn't. The
yeah,
right near the front of the book says a sparkling Roman candle of talent. And then of course this was marketed everywhere. It was on like Good Morning America, like
yeah,
is their
mhm,
pick. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are we reading this
yeah,
book?
mhm,
Which brings me into plot. I give plot a number 1. I hate the way she structured the book. It's confusing. It's all over the place. I understand it's a memoir. Like memoirs are amazing because you can do whatever the hell you want.
yeah,
But people hate it. In the book, you'll see like email chains. They're like
mhm.
satirical. Some people hated them. I thought they were hilarious.
I liked it.
Once you
Yeah,
understood that they were pure, it's pure comedy.
mhm,
It is so funny because Dolly has this like special skill that she's able to like tap into like the inner psyche and like the inner workings of
yeah,
like,
mhm,
situations. It's like, well, if we invite
yeah,
this person, then we'll have to act this way, and then we're gonna have to serve this because, and we can't invite that person because, and then you all need to leave. Blah, blah, blah. Like the party chain was like
yeah,
that. Like, can we just combine all of those together so I can
mhm.
like have them in like one book? They're so
The
funny.
emails as like a short story would
Yes,
be amazing because they're
hilarious.
just like it's satirical, but it's also like what you're thinking. Like it's the truth behind the
That's the
situations.
relatable part.
And it made one of the girls at book club who was a bride, she was getting a little like offended and salty about it because they were going after like
Right.
bride culture, which is as a married woman,
Mm.
is like so fucking blown out of proportion and so crazy at times. And she was like spot on the money. But like I get it that if you're like in the bride mentality, you're like, oh no, do people think of me this way?
Yeah, you're like,
Oh,
oh.
I would say I thought the plot. I mean, I didn't love the some section. I It wasn't for me, but I think for the people that it was, I liked the structure that she used. I also took a memoir class in college with my creative writing minor, and I read a book that was so off the walls bonkers. One of the memoirs we read, half of it was Chinese folklore mixed in with like real events that happened to this girl, and you couldn't tell sometimes what was folklore and what actually happened. I read a memoir, My Body is a Book of Rules, that had like these huge sections of lists, and then there would be like graphic details about her sex life, like in the strangest like hermitcraft form. I read some weird fucking memoirs in my
It's
life. And so I feel like for me, I was like, oh,
normal.
she's only adding food recipes into this memoir. Like that's like basic.
That's not even crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, my overall rating at book club, I gave it like a 2.5, 3 stars. Um, and Aubrey gave it 4 on Goodreads, but you probably said 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, this is the thing, and I said this at book. This is right when I walked in. I was like, listen, this book, read the last chapter.
Yeah.
This is, you just pick it up, cattail, pick it up, read the last chapter. Like, that is all I have to say. The last chapter of this book, I thought of so many people that I know in their 30s I wanted to send it to be like, I see you, I hear you, I understand, like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get where you're coming. Like, guys, to read the last chapter. The last chapter, you gotta look it up on the internet. Like, it is amazing. I love the last chapter of this book. Highly recommend for the last chapter. The rest, I don't know.
You got to be at the right moment in your life.
Yeah.
And we weren't.
No, we're just not there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a 3.5 for me. I don't know.
I don't know what to say about this.
Yeah. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that the book club did not like it, because I know that so many people loved it, and we had a room full of girls in their 20s, and like 2 people were obsessed with it and read it in a day. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the test. Like, pick it up in the bookstore. Don't buy it. Just pick it up. Read the first like 2 chapters. And depending on how you feel about that, either just skip and read the last one, put the book down, don't buy it. Or if you're obsessed with it, then buy it, and it's the book for you. That's my advice.
It's, it's very subjective. It's like per person. So that is our non-spoiler section. Let's jump into our spoiler section. Once again, like, we're just gonna be more detailed with our descriptions. It's a memoir, so it's not like we have all these
not huge spoilers.
Yeah, there's no huge spoilers, but we are. I'm gonna take down a little wall that I'm like protecting all of you who don't spoil. So we're in a spoiler section. I wrote down book club notes. I guess we can go through those. Some that Aubrey also brought up at book club that I wrote down. I said this literally 5 seconds ago. The last chapter is all that matters in this book. When she was talking about how the difference between like how hard it is to date in your 30s. I know a lot of people who are like dating, like, and they're like, dating in your like what you need to know about love at 30. It's like everyone you meet is gonna have baggage. Like, everyone is gonna have kids. They're gonna be divorced. They're gonna have stories from college. They're gonna have lived different lives. And I think like we need to look at love through Dolly's like perspective, and she does categorize this as well as it's not just like this relationship with your partner, it's these platonic
Mhm.
relationships, and this is really what we dug into a book club. It's about the platonic relationships too, right? Like you're going to meet people in your life now moving forward that have lived lives. Like we didn't go to school together, we didn't go to kindergarten together. Like
Mhm.
this is what this looks like, and she said words that we all think and feel.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a great discussion we had at book club that is around that theme, because through the book, now that we can spoil it, Donnie Dolly never gets like a good relationship, a good long-term relationship with a man. But towards the end, one of the biggest like turning points for her as a person was that her best friend Farley's like, no, like I know you know what love is. I know you know what a healthy, beautiful, long-term relationship is because you have it with me. Like we have this amazing love together, um and it's not about commitment or anything like that. You just haven't found a man in your life. And Dolly's like, oh yeah, I never viewed men to be able to have a relationship with them the same way I have with my girls. um which I think it's important because you go into this book, Everything I Know About Love, expecting to learn about romantic love, but Dolly is not an expert on that subject. She's actually like failing that topic
Yeah,
for
she
a
can't.
majority of this book. But what she does have is the most precious, like, girlfriend situations, like female friendships, and
Right.
girlhood. And something we talked about in book club was a lot of people started expressing moments in their lives where, like, their friendship breakups and how
Yeah.
tough they can be, and like the idea of like, especially a lot of us in our 20s. I know, like, I have my childhood best friends, but like Peyton is my bestie right now. Like Peyton is my girl, and it's weird that I've only known Peyton for so long, and I had these other friends that I've known for so much longer, but like they're filling different needs in our lives. And so I'd recommend for anyone who is struggling with any of these things, go check out Hello Hayes podcast. She
Yes.
has an amazing, like, 6 different types of besties theory, and talks a lot about how, like, your friends can hold different roles in your life depending on like where you're at. And it's like, don't expect something from a friend who's offering you this type of friendship. Don't expect like the top tier best friend treatment from them. Like not all your best friends need to be like your best friend, and they'll move and flux in those positions, and like how to navigate that. So it's really cool. Like check it out.
Yeah, we actually went over also like what like the different kinds of friends.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really interesting. So like yeah, look that up. I didn't even know about her and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Okay, so going off of that. I was
Yeah,
like reading my list and they were like blending in.
I know
Um
I jumped.
no, you're good. What I really think this book like brought up, and I said this at book club that my mom always told me is like
Mm-hmm.
what you need in your life at this moment will come to you. And I think that like we talk about different stages of life,
Mm-hmm.
and I was literally talking about this with someone the other day. It's like she is pregnant and all of her friends are not pregnant, and
Mm-hmm.
so she feels like she's isolating because all of her friends are still in that 20s mindset, even though they're
Yeah.
majority of them are in their 30s, and it's just like they don't understand that like next stage of life. So like she has formed friendships based off of that, and we see Dolly do this in the book.
Yeah.
Barley gets engaged, and Dolly, it was really creepy, but like also I understand if you have that best friend that you've like lived with your whole life. Like I
Mm-hmm.
never really had an apartment with like girls, so like I guess I never really got to like that level of like clinginess to a friend. And I never had sisters, so I've always been like my own best friend, if that makes sense. So I've never. That's why I feel like the relatability for me is like 0 to none. But like she was heartbroken when
Yeah.
she got engaged. She was like, I don't know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do. Like this isn't okay. She like hated that guy. Um,
Yeah.
and she like could not, but then she pivoted and found friends that were for the stage of life she was at. And that's why I
Mhm.
would love to see Farley's point of view of kind of like she just wouldn't grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, cuz Farley's like the commitment girl, the
Yeah.
girlfriend girl. Like she went from long term to long term, and like I loved the scene where Dolly's like prepping her after the engagement fails, and she's ready to get back out to dating, and she's like, "You're gonna have to meet someone online. You will not meet someone in real life at a bar." And then like the next chapter is like Dolly and the other girlfriend, India, freaking out and be like, "How did she meet someone in a bar?" Like, of course, she's the only person who would like meet someone in a bar because like they didn't get it. But like, that's just
Yeah.
like who like far, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
just feel like that idea of like kind of the energy you put out is the energy you'll get in.
Yes. Yeah. I that's why I really hope in the TV show we have a little Farley perspective.
Yeah.
Um oh, and then speaking of that is
Hmm.
her and Farley's relationship kind of had some strain and like distance. And
Yeah.
we were talking about the distance between um friendship breakups or just friendship breaks or friendship like separation. Like this happens, I've experienced it many times in my
Hmm.
life, in a good scenario of like, hey, like we don't talk a lot anymore, but like that's okay. And also like, hey, this is like you just stopped talking to me randomly, like this like feels
Yeah.
worse than getting broken up with by
Hmm.
like a boyfriend or something or a partner. So the difference between ill will versus mutual friendship breakups and like splitting,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And then also I want to add on here, another one is, hey, we see each other maybe once a year and we have dinner and we pick up right where we left.
Yeah.
My best
Hmm.
friend, my ride or die, I know when I see her, we just pick right up. Like we always
Yeah.
have been that way. And when I see her, we pick right back up. There's no like
Hmm.
I need to check in with her every week or I feel bad or like I miss her to death, but like I'll see you when I see you. Like live your
Yeah.
life. I'm here. If someone freaking hurts you, I will get my ass on a plane and I will be there in 4 hours. But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
like, you do you, girl. Let me know if you need help. And like, we're both busy
Hmm.
and like, live your life. And I'll see you in the summer. Like, that's kind of how it works. But I think
Yeah.
also the difference is like, hey, like, we just aren't in the same crowd anymore. Like, that was
Hmm.
my party stage. You were my party friend. Like, usually in college, just because we just
Yeah.
this the
Mhm.
most. Of, like, oh, that was my college best friend because you
Mhm.
guys probably were at like a frat basement every night.
Yeah,
And
and
now
like
you guys work full time, right? Or you don't have
mhm.
anything mutual to go off of. And then it's the
Mhm.
ill will breakups that are just not okay.
Yeah.
Don't be that
Those are
person.
the ones that hurt. Well, and I know, and it's so hard because sometimes like you want someone to be a different like bestie than they are. And like I in my life I feel like my sister and I are very much like the OG bestie, kind of like what you were describing with your hometown friend, where like we do not talk every day. We are not but when we lived together, when we were in high school at the same time, like she was, my best friend. Even if I didn't tell her that, like she was the one that I was with the most, and I had this like such a close relationship with her. And then since I've moved out and moved away, like we don't talk every day, but whenever we're back together, like it's, she's still my sister and it's instant. But then I'll see like people online and they're like, I call my sister every day. My sister come and like we do sleepovers still and like all these things. And I'm and then I'll get in my head and I'll be like, why am I not like that with my siblings? Like, why am I not like that with my sister? And then it's like, no, like she doesn't need to be like that person in my life right now, and that doesn't mean that we don't have a great relationship as like where we are. Like it doesn't have to fill the shit you see online. Like
Yeah,
I've never had a friend who I'm like that attached at a hip to.
correct. Yeah.
And sometimes I'm be like, oh, is there something like wrong with me? Like why do I not have that? Why don't I have someone like that? And it's like, but do you want that? Like in
Yeah.
my day to day, do I need that? I'm like, no, I feel totally fulfilled by my friendships where they're at. Like,
Right, and the distance in between them. And
Yeah.
at book club, like a good portion of us are in long-term relationships. Aubrey's married, I'm
Mhm.
engaged, we both live with our partners. Some people are engaged, have long-term boyfriends, and others are just single girls just by
Yeah.
themselves. And there were some split opinions of like, well, I feel lonely and that my friend doesn't like talk to me. And some were like, yeah, but
Mhm.
like you also need to understand that like life is busy. And as
Yeah.
long as they're like reaching out, like checking in and like saying like, hey, thinking of you, like that's okay. So it's like having
Mhm.
that grace on both sides. It's like so tricky in friendships and just love in general. It's those that are jealous and can't handle being second or can't handle like, oh, don't even get me started on when you get a long-term boyfriend and your best friend
Yeah.
can't handle it.
Mhm.
Lost a few because of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously? Like, I also understand, and that's just called maturity, is people are gonna go through honeymoon friendship stages. They're gonna go through
Yeah.
honeymoon like boyfriend, girlfriend stages. Like,
Mhm.
but if you're a good friend, you're like, hey, I miss you. Let's put something on the calendar and talk.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's where Dolly went wrong in this book. Dolly was so jealous and she was
Mhm.
so like she played like the victim mentality a lot, like I felt. And I think that's why
Yeah.
a lot, and that's to her own just like mental illness.
Mhm.
Seems like we all, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also is having the maturity to be like, I know Peyton, there's no ill will associated
Mhm.
with me not, her and I not communicating. She's
Yeah.
probably like, if you actually know your best friend and you feel so left out, it could probably be like a, oh my God, they're probably really stressed right now. I should probably reach out and check in on
Yeah.
them. Like,
Mhm.
it's taking that like selfish mentality and like turning it around to be like, okay, how can I be more selfless in this situation? Even though you
Yeah.
are hurt and your feelings are valid, but I've been
Mhm.
through this before. It's just like, wow, you lost a good friend because of jealousy. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. And there, I mean,
Tell
there
her,
needs to
Holly.
be grace. Like, I feel like whenever you're in a situation, um, uh, where it was a quote from something. This I did not come up with this, and maybe it was in this book, but it was like, unless someone died, there are two sides to every relationship. Like everything that happens, unless one person died, like you need to look at like what you're doing in that situation, because I think there are definitely girls who like will get in a long-term relationship and completely shut out the people in their
Right.
lives. And like there needs to be a balance of not forgetting your friends, but like letting friendships grow and change and on both ends. And you have to look at it, and that's where I know I talked about it earlier, but like honestly check out Hello Haze, because she really brings it back to like, why are you feeling this way?
Yes.
What is what is it for you, and how can you address that problem? And sometimes like in situations like this that Dolly went through with Farley, like I think Farley was trying to make the intentions to still spend time, and she was doing her best. I mean, from the book's perspective, we don't know everything, um but Farley was doing her best to still be like, hey, I'm moving out, but I love you, I want to go to dinner with you, I want to do these things.
Yeah.
And Dolly talks about, she's like, you have to understand that people are going to change, and if you're the person who's saying nothing will change, that is the issue.
Yeah.
If you say nothing will change, then you won't change with the person. You
And
can't.
then you're gonna
You
lose that
gotta
person.
let the friendship grow with
Bro.
it.
I know. And it's so easy to
Uh,
get stuck in. Well, in college, it's like, well, bitch, we're not in college anymore. Like, I
yeah.
have 3 kids and a dog and a house and a mortgage and like a full-time job. Like, girl, like at some point you just have to grow up, and I think some people just don't grow up, and that's just how relationships fizzle. There's 2 things I want to wrap up this episode. uh the first one is I want to talk about this quote from the first meeting of the month that I think
Okay.
resonated with so many girls. Speaking of quotes.
Mhm.
Second one is, and think about this, I want you to think about your favorite like situation, chapter, little like, she had these like one-off stories
Yeah.
like really interesting that we can kind of like talk about, since we haven't gotten
Mhm.
super spoilery. Like, there wasn't much spoilers to give, so like I
Yeah.
don't know, but maybe people can like be like, oh my God, I remember that story. So the quote for our
Mhm.
like to wrap up this like deep talk, which is crazy.
Yes.
Very different than the dragons and
I know. This is not, if this is the first episode you're seeing from us, this is not how we normally talk. We don't cover nonfiction. But it is the type of like things that we are getting from our book club and like this community and trying to like focus on yourself and do those kinds of things and maybe not make the mistakes that Dolly makes.
yes,
So
it's
we've said
important.
it before, encourage you to join a book club or be a part of book space. Like we're trying to cultivate and grow a space here like with you guys and on Instagram and stuff like that. Like find your space because it was so meaningful to like have these talks with people and hopefully I don't know you got something out of us fucking around and
Yes.
acting like we're smarter than we are.
Yes, exactly. Like we know everything, which we don't. This quote Dolly said,
Mm-hmm.
"When you are thin enough, you'll be happy with who you are, and then you'll be worthy of love." I think
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people tell, a lot of girls, maybe guys. I'm a girl, so I'm gonna speak from a girl's perspective. Um, Tell ourselves. It's like,
Yeah.
my mom said this a lot to me as a kid, which is maybe good. She's like, it's always the next thing we do. It's like, well, when I have this, I'll be happy. When I have this, I'll be happy. When I
Yeah.
have this, I'll be happy. And the big thing in your 20s is if I look good, I'll feel good, people will love me, and I'll be
Yeah.
happy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be worthy of people's attention, Instagram comments, likes, love, guys' attention if I'm thin enough. And like, it all resorts back down to that. And all I gotta say is that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But also know that I struggle with it too. Like I think
Yeah.
everyone struggles with it, and I think that is Dolly talks a lot about how she was always conventionally on whatever scale these motherfuckers these days want to come up with is that she was always the size a little bigger, whatever that means. And she was always kind of like put down for that. That was always kind of like, oh, you're a big girl.
Yeah.
Which is fucked.
Yeah. Her struggles with body image I think hit home for a lot of people because even if you don't have those exact struggles, like you know what that means. You know what that feels like and you can replace thin in that quote to whatever you want. Like I know that there are tons of girls who are so skinny and but then they're like I wish I had curves or I whatever
Yeah,
like
it's always like you'll never be good enough for yourself.
it's this, yes, it's society's fault that we just feel like we can't be good enough, and there's always something that's missing.
Yes.
And I think that the talks that she does about it are hit home, and that they are where the relatability skyrockets in this book. I also have a quote.
Okay, perfect. I have from page 77, and then
Okay.
I think what she says
Yes.
is everything I know about love at 21. I don't know what yours is.
Mine's at like page 300.
Okay, cool.
Where's that?
And let's go from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
This is when she's at 21 and being closer to 21 than 30. This is
Yeah.
This is actually very relatable, and I know we kind of shit on her a little bit. It's not relatable. She said, you can restore your physical being to health. You can develop a rational, balanced, caring attitude to weight, as well as good daily habits. But you can't forget how many calories are in a boiled egg, or how many steps burn how many calories. You can't forget what weight you were every week of every month that made up that time. Oh my gosh. And then she does these little, like we just talked about, the most important one is to read everything I know about love at 30, because I think that that's a really good, just like something to like
the whole section.
the whole thing. But I think being in your young 20s, this is how it feels to not even appeal to a romantic partner, but also to just appeal to like friends and like also to just be accepted. Men love a wild, filthy woman. Have sex on the first date, keep them up at night, smoke hash in their bed in the morning, never call them back, tell them you hate them, turn up on their doorstep in Ann Summers' nurse's outfit, be anything but conventional. That's how you keep them interested. And then that's when it goes into if you're not thin enough, once you're thin enough, you'll be happy with who you are and then you'll be worthy of love. It's like, why do we have to feel like, why do we as women, only because it's written from a woman's perspective, feel the need to live to these men's standards or even just friends? Like, there's girls where I'm like, I'm not cool enough to hang out with you. Like, I don't wear what you wear. I don't act how you act. Like, I don't fit in. Like, I have felt that way my whole life. Like, even with my closest friends and family, I'm like, I don't act like you. I don't, like, I feel like I can hang, but like I don't look like you, and I don't feel like you're gonna like accept me. And so of course that was coming from a place of I have to act this way to feel love, meaning that's carried out through sexual activity. But yeah, I was like, oh
Yeah.
knife to the heart. That's so relatable.
No, I feel that I spent so much of my life trying to be my sister because I wanted to fit in the way she did. And like it's taken me so long, and like even like when I was doing wedding stuff, I was like, I don't want everyone to meet her because she's so exciting and she's so vibrant and I'm not that. And I was like, and everyone's gonna want to be with her instead of me. But like that didn't happen. Like my friends met her and loved her, and they didn't like say, never mind, I want to be friends with her, or like they didn't choose Chloe over me or anything like that. And but I like that idea of just you
Comparison.
Comparison. Like I need to fit in, I need to be like they are. Her saying like be wild, be unattainable, be all these things. Like just strip it down.
Yeah.
Stop.
Does not matter. Anyways, you got a quote for us?
Yes.
Finish
Yes,
this.
I would suggest, especially if you are in your early 20s and not yet at that 30s stage, because I think that last chapter is so impactful, but I like hadn't hit it yet. But the chapter before that, or a little bit before that, enough to me was super special. And this is kind of like her revelation chapter. This is her like it's what you want to hear, and it's kind of like what I want to like look forward to feeling one day. It's on page 305. Because I am enough. My heart is enough. The stories and sentences twisting around my mind are enough. I am fizzing and frothing and buzzing and exploding. I am bubbling over and burning up. My early morning walks and my late night baths are enough. My loud laugh at the pub is enough. My piercing whistle, my singing in the shower, my double jointed toes are enough. I am just pulled pint with a good frothy head on it. I am my own universe, a galaxy, a solar system. I am the warming up act, the main event, and the backstage singers. And if this is it, if this is all there is, just me and the trees and the skies and the seas, I know now that that's enough.
Yes. That is... Oh, that is award-winning writing.
Yes. That is what they meant on the cover page.
Yeah, they like read the book and they're like, oh, this book is the best book I've ever read.
Yeah.
I mean, like the last quarter, like just read the last quarter. It is.
Yeah.
Whew. It's good, guys.
So good.
Oh my gosh. We did like this is our nonfiction review. I think we'll wrap it up there. It's a story about her whole life. So there's a lot to talk about. We didn't even get into Florence's story. But yeah, so let us know what you thought about
before the episode ends though. Yeah. I actually have something. Peyton, for you guys, a couple episodes ago, the beginning of 2024.
Oh no.
Peyton said on camera that if we got to 100 subscribers, she would change her Goodreads goal and she would bump it up. And we are today at 121 subscribers. You guys are wild. We are not even at 1 year yet. And so I want live feed. Pull out your phone right now and change your Goodreads.
Is that on camera that I said
that? It is on camera. Yeah. I'll send you the clip so you can put it in. But if we could hit that 1 year mark with 100 subscribers, that would make our like motherfucking day. Like that would make our motherfucking year, honestly.
I'll up my reading goal to 40 books.
Okay, get us to 100 subscribers and Payne's upping her reading goal right now. For proof. You said you would up it if we hit 100 before 1 year.
I will up it.
And we did 2 months earlier than we thought we would. You guys have been giving so much love.
I really thought you would not. I was like, I'm good.
So much love to our Crescent City content. We're so excited for this year, and we're gonna push Payne a little harder because.
All right, guys, I'm at 35. What do we need to do? Like 10 more books?
I think you said 40. I think you just said
40. Okay, good. I'm about to say I'm scared. That's a lot for me. Guys, we're reading Crescent City right now. This book is so long.
Thick.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Let it load.
Load. Woo! Thank you for forcing Peyton to up her reading goal. Now mine's 50, yours is 40.
Yes, let's
if you
see.
get us to 200 subscribers, Peyton will go up 5.
If we get to 200, no, if we hit 500 subs by the end of the year, I will read 100 books.
100? Girl, you are jumping.
I will read 100 books. I will download Kindle Unlimited, and I will read 100 books. 500
You heard
subs.
it here.
You heard it here first. 500 subs, I will read 100 books. I will quit my job, and I will start reading full time. Guys, thank you so much. Like, it's slow, it's steady, but man, do those like milestones, they seem small in the scale of like what YouTube and podcasting and it all is, but like seriously, it feels good because we love doing this and we love forming this community, and we met so many friends last night. We went to the Crescent City 3 midnight release party, so we will be posting content on that. If you're a fantasy girl, and if you're a nonfiction girl and you stumbled upon 2 fantasy girls talking about nonfiction, I'm so sorry.
My bad.
We have some other good books. Join the community.
We reviewed Lessons in Chemistry, and that's still fiction, but the closest that you're gonna get.
Anyways, so thank you so much for pushing me. Subscribe, like, comment our Instagram, Hardcover Podcast.
Tell us your best girlhood stories in the comment section below.
Yes. Anyways, I'm Peyton. That is Aubrey. Thank you for watching.
Thank y'all so much for joining us, and happy reading.